Hey guys, Just of the World here, and we are doing something quite a bit different, and something I promised I would do months ago when I hit 1,000 subscribers, but at the time I kind of just delayed it because I was busy, and I just kind of forgot about it up until now. But yes, you heard that right, we are doing the Predator slash Nonce tier list. As you'll see on your screen right now, we have a tier list that someone made. I've changed it a bit just to kind of make it a bit better, but obviously I've gone around and collected a few other Preds, basically the main ones I've covered on this channel, or at least I think I've covered on this channel, and we're going to be talking about them pretty much. Now, obviously, I couldn't get every single Pred because that would just be damn near impossible, unless someone wants to make it, but I have covered probably at this point in my channel hundreds of Preds. So what I think I'm going to do, at least maybe every 2 weeks or once per week, I'll continue it, if this video hopefully does as well, and we'll obviously eventually get through them all, and when I, finish all of them, at least, the ones that I've obviously covered, I'll have to wait until I cover more nonces and etc. Starting with one of my most viral videos or topics that I've covered on this channel, the bald nonce, probably the most viral Pred here, at least in the UK, and a lot of the time I think people overlook about what he did because the video's so funny. And don't get me wrong, I love that video; it's so funny. Or the sting, it is so funny. But what he actually did, or what he was trying to do, was obviously really bad. Now, if you didn't know, he was trying to meet up with, obviously, man, he got caught, and then more and more decoys and people that were coming forward to the hunters in the confrontation of the sting was mind-boggling. He was talking to he admitted to talking to only one child, which was, the decoy account that he was there to meet, and then more and more keep coming, and obviously the conversations were bad. He wanted to get in the bath with one of them, and he was talking to, I believe, 13 other cases. So I think this guy belongs in the funny but really bad category. Moving on to Stuart, a Pred that I unfortunately have not covered before, but he is otherwise known as the Pajama Nonce because he's obviously wearing pajamas when they confront him. Now, I don't know what happened to him, that's why I haven't made a video on this dude yet, but I can talk about what he actually did. But basically, he was obviously talking to miners and they confront him at his house, but he was threatening the miners on his face calls and stuff if they didn't do stuff for him. He said he would tell the police that they'll get in trouble. If they tell anybody about him, he'll tell their parents and stuff what they've been doing, and they'll get in far more trouble than he would. And obviously, just a really, really, really bad situation and guy to be around. Now, this dude belongs in the same category as the bald nonce. Moving on to Kyle Foray. He was a Pred that tried to meet a child outside of a primary school. And then, luckily it wasn't, and it was just a decoy. But he would also go to football matches dressed as clowns so he could get pictures with other children. Now, and when he was confronted, he immediately pulled up his hood and obviously tries to get on multiple buses to get away. Buses luckily won't let him on, and members of the public start shouting at him, and when he tries to run away, he falls face first onto the floor, and then he's obviously arrested. I'd highly recommend going to watch the full sting. I think it's probably one of the ones I highly recommend everyone, but obviously it's not here on YouTube, unfortunately. It's on Reddit, I think, so you'll have to go on there to try and find it, but that's up to you. Anyway, I'm going to place this dude. It might have to go in the same. Actually, I'm going to put it in the funny and bad still. The one below the bald nonce and the other one. Moving on to Gareth Griffith, I believe his name is, otherwise known as the Daddy G Nonce. Another nonce I have not covered, unfortunately, but that's just because I can't find any information apart from, the fact that he was actually arrested and everything. But I just couldn't find any information on him. I'll be honest, I think this one is a funny sting and it's a bit bad. That's easy. Moving on to Ashley Snow, aka the one that said, "Don't you start or I'll knock you out clean." Now, this guy, I wasn't aware of any information that happened to him afterwards. I did cover the fact that he still had his Facebook up and stuff, but what this guy did was horrible. He obviously tried to meet up with, unluckily it wasn't a real minor, it was a sting. Now, usually, this guy might have been in the basic category, or the funny but bad category, if it wasn't for the fact that before any of this sting even happened, years earlier, he had actually done something with a person that young. I can't say what it was for obvious reasons, but he never got in trouble for it, or he got in trouble for it from his dad, but his dad hid the fact and didn't tell the police, even though he was questioned over it, which is just mind-boggling. So, in my opinion, this dude is in the worst of the worst. Introducing the next nonce is Giles Cockett, aka the Goblin Nonce that went viral for a clip where he says, "Stan said she was 18, it was on the profile." Now, I'll be honest, there isn't really much to say, as there wasn't really much of the conversation that they shared in the sting. So, in my opinion, this dude's just going to be put in the funny and bad category. Next, we're talking about Stephen Baldock, aka the Apologetic Nonce, because he apologised so much in the sting. Now, he is a reoffender as well, as after the first sting, he got confronted again in a second sting, and obviously that's bad enough. The conversations were horrible, and this dude deserves. And I'll be honest, there's nothing funny about this. So, but it's obviously a bit hard to put in a tier list because you could put this guy as just basic, but because he's a reoffender, I'm going to put him in the worst of the worst category. Moving on to Tony Myers, who is a bit of a tricky person to place on this tier list because the sting itself is funny, and at the same time, we don't really know to the extent of what he had in the conversation, as not much of the information is put out there. It obviously must have been bad, but I don't know how bad in particular it was. But because the sting, he is quite aggressive with them threatening him and stuff, I'm going to place this as funny but really bad. Moving on to most likely the most well-known YouTube pred of all time, aka Mini Lad. A person who was part of the Vanos crew, who I watched and many others watched growing up, only for him to kind of turn his back on the group, be ungrateful, accuse him of stuff that wasn't true, and then later on be exposed as a pred. Used mental health as a way to try and get out of it, tried to use threats and manipulation, saying that his fans would suffer as a result of him getting exposed if they did come forward, and lastly, he admitted to it, and every time he comes back, it just causes more and more stuff to happen. And the way he's responded to other stuff, I can't go into in depth because I've covered it numerous times now on multiple videos. Just look at my channel, you can easily find all the videos I've made about this. And honestly, I am unsure about where to place him because I don't think he's basic. He is that power dynamic, he's famous, and everything he did annoys me, but he's definitely not as bad as those other people that are in the worst of the worst category, so I'm going to make a new category that just says YouTube pred. And moving on to the Nonce of the North himself, the most well-known pred, most likely in the UK, who gets stopped pretty much wherever he goes. He gets moved up and down the country because that many people know about him. He used TikTok to try and engage and get famous. He tried meeting up with multiple minors over 3 years during the pandemic, and before that even. Literally the most well-known predator in the UK, Mark Feely. There's no discussion that needs to be needed. He's in the worst of the worst people. Moving on to Brian Bowen, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He is also otherwise known as another dwarf nonce. He's not the main one, but he is a dwarf nonce. But pretty much, there's no sting. I just wanted to talk about it because of the reason he got away with what he did. Now, the thing what he did was pretty basic, but what he got away with. So basically, he didn't get any jail time. I got a very lenient sentence because he's short. Yep, he just belongs in the basic category. Moving on to Callum Lee Bates, possibly the youngest pred I've ever covered on this channel, who was training to be a police officer and tried to meet up with what he thought to be a very young person in a single digit number, we're talking. But he's a reoffender as well. He's breaking his prevention order and he belongs in. It wasn't funny. He belongs in my opinion, worst of the worst. Moving on to Alan Hardman. He was just a reoffender, and less than a month after he got out of his first sting sentence, because he was obviously stung the first time and got sentenced to jail and everything, when he got out in less than, I think, 2 weeks it was, he tried to meet up with another miner and got caught by the same team that caught him originally. So, instantly worst of the worst. And moving on to Scott Spendlove, aka the Clown Nonce, that there's so much happened in this thing, there's not much I can mention here because this video might get taken down, so I highly recommend going to watch the sting itself. But not much is known to what happened to him afterwards. I know he was arrested, but again, I only talked about what happened in the sting and everything and what specifically he did. Again, I would go recommend watching my video on that, so it'll just be easy to explain there. But I believe this one belongs in the very funny but bad category. Moving on to Aidan Atkinson, a pred that I actually knew in college who did some of the worst things, obviously no one knew of at the time, to a minor who was supposed to be babysitting. This person belongs in the worst of the worst. He did stuff that I cannot mention, and the fact that I knew him and talked to him a few times here and there in college is just mad to me, because you never know who you can trust. The lad seemed fine from the most part, at least from how I knew him. And then he was a year above me, and then when he left college, never really heard of him since then until my friend Mr. 66 Rage, or James, got in contact with me and let me know about what happened, and it's like mad. But yeah, we are finally on to the final pred in today's tier list. Now, that is John Keeble, or Kebble. I'm going to call him Keeble though. Keeble is like the Jeffrey Dahmer of Preds, because what he wanted to do, if he met up with a real miner, is very, very disturbing. He wanted to do Jeffrey Dahmer level stuff, let's just say that, because I cannot say what he did. I highly recommend checking out my video that I made on this guy originally, but I cannot phrase here without this video probably getting taken down, and I mean it. This dude belongs in the worst of the worst, there's no debate. And that is the end of the tier list. Now, I've shuffled them up a little bit in this screenshot you'll see right now on the screen, just to say how bad they are going from left to right. And that is obviously just my opinion. Obviously, if you guys disagree, please let me know where you'd place some of these people on the comments. Obviously, I can't remember every little detail from these things, because there was just a lot of nonces to place in this tier list, and there's obviously a lot more that I need to do in the future, but for now, that is it. If you guys like the video, like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, share the video, it always helps. And yeah, see you guys a bit.